Hey, posting this video to kind of help some people out that have the third generation 4Runners, first generation Tacomas. Other day I took my truck out and I'm driving and all of a sudden the check engine light comes on. Truck was running fine, so didn't think much of it. Figured probably O2 sensor or something like that. Came home, pulled the code, and it was a p1780, which is the neutral safety switch, which is the mechanical switch on the side of the transmission that sends the signal to the computer, basically whether it's in park or neutral, so the engine can be started. So basically, first thing you're thinking, oh well, the sensor might be bad. I took my reader out, reset the code, drove the truck around that morning again, fine, no code, no check engine light. A little bit later in the day it popped again, P1780, neutral safety switch. And what that means then is basically why I'm driving the vehicle at mileage, it's getting a signal that the transmission is either in neutral or park, and that's what causes that code, which obviously wasn't the case because the truck was running fine. At first glance, most people think, oh yeah, I'm going to replace the neutral safety switch, it must be bad. But the switch works fine, and it's a pretty simple mechanical switch. If your car ever won't start or crank or anything, then it's a possibility your switch is bad or just gunked up. But mine starts every time, so I'm tracking it down to basically being something electrical. Well, I got in, started doing some research online, and discovered that the other people have had these kind of weird issues too. And I noticed on my dash, if I push the ECT button, if you watch the park, it gets dimmer, and then the reverse light lights up slightly. If I push the ECT button again, it goes back to normal, park full lit. I was like, that's kind of strange. And then I noticed if I turn my lights on, no big deal. But as soon as I click the brights, the park light turns off and the reverse light goes on. Take brights off and it goes back. Did some more research and found out that there's what's called the printed computer board on the back of the gauge cluster, which is basically a flexible computer board that connects the whole circuit together. And over time, those wires could get brittle, crack, or come loose and even touch, and creating shorts. So I went by Toyota, ordered that part, $75, so it's not bad. It's actually a lot cheaper than that neutral safety switch. So I'm going to pull the dash out, replace that board, and then I'll give feedback. So, because looking online, I saw lots of problems where people are saying, oh yeah, I turn my brights on and my engine dies, goes into neutral, or the reverse light comes on. And of course these things kind of make me nervous. I don't want to be driving down the road and have it shift out or lose all power. So I'll keep you all posted. Well, I removed the gauge cluster from my truck. Pretty easy to do, so I didn't film it. You just pull the 4 screws off the lower cover, pop it off, take off the shroud around the cover, which I think was 3 screws, maybe 4, and then the 4 screws on the gauge cluster here. I already took off the main computer board, which is this one, set it aside. But apparently it's called the plate combination meter. And what happens is some of these wires will either break inside, or I think sometimes the coating in between them just wears down over time from vibration, and the wires will actually touch, which is why you'll get that circuit break, and then the lights for the different gauges change. This is the one, brand new one I bought from Toyota for $75. If you go in there, definitely take your VIN number, because, well, for my 1999 4Runner, there were 8 different boards available, so definitely want to make sure you get the right one. So I'm going to disassemble the old one, put that on, put it all back together, and I'll test it and post another video. Thanks. Well, I got everything back in, pretty easy fix, pretty excited, just tested a little earlier, reset the fault code with my reader. If I hit the ECT button now, ECT lights up, no reverse light, parking light doesn't get dimmer. And then also now if I turn my headlights on and hit my high beams, I get a high beam light. Turn it back off, no other erratic lights. I'm going to drive it, so hopefully the fault code of that 1780 neutral safety switch fault will be resolved. And a bonus, because I did a solid axle swap with my 4Runner, I pulled out the ABS light because I already gutted out the whole ABS system in here. So all in all, pretty happy with the repair. I'm going to post this, hope it helps people, and see ya.